always say it all the time. You're smart. You figure it out. What 2 words are they?
If I get this right, I'm gonna be so sick. Hey nerds, welcome back to my channel. As you can see, I have another guest with me today. This is my bodacious, amazing legend of a dad. This is my dad. Everyone say hi, Dad. Dad, introduce yourself.
What's up, y'all? It's me.
That's it.
That's it. Check the hat. Check the hat. It's hot. I'm trying to keep the sun out of my face because I'm not a big fan of the heat, but that's another story. So
yeah, and he said I had to wear my hat because he was wearing his hat, so we have to match now. So today we're going to be doing a movie review, but it's going to be different. We're doing a
double feature.
Yeah. But before we get into that, please leave a like. It really helps me and I appreciate it. Thank you. Now let's get into this. First movie we're gonna talk about is, it's very well known. Y'all know this, especially my older cats, my older viewers. Y'all are gonna know, you're gonna love this one. The first movie we're gonna be talking about is Purple Rain, 1984. Now Dad, correct me if I'm wrong, but you saw this in theaters when it first came out, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It was yep, 1984. It was a huge deal. It was a big deal when this movie first came out. I remember everybody in the neighborhood got together, went and saw this movie. For whatever reason, the parents did not care or did not know that it was R-rated. Back in '84, I was 14 years old. Probably 4 years before that, we were all we were fans of Prince music 4 years before this movie came out. So we kind of had an expectation of what we were going to see when this movie finally came out. And once we got in those movie seats, we were, okay, so our expectations were met. And then there was a couple of things that surprised us. If
you don't know, or if you're just like uncultured, Purple Rain is a 1984 musical drama starring our main character, the kid, who is played by the legendary Prince, okay? Ask your parents if you don't know, ask your grandparents, ask your aunties, ask your uncles. This movie was like iconic. It still is iconic. But there are some things that we're going to talk about today. Not necessarily the plot, because, you know, I don't think it needs a rehashing, because I feel like most people know about the movie.
We'll probably have to restate the plot, because I think a lot of the plot has a lot to do with the issues and topics that are going on today in 2024. So if you'll break down the plot, and I'll kind of backdoor that with some stuff.
Okay, sure. So just to give you like a, condensed, like a little synopsis, like I always do. So like I said, the main character is the kid, played by Prince, and he is figuring out the ups and downs of the music business. He's trying to get his name out there, he's trying to get his art out there, and he's playing all this music that people really don't either like or understand, because, his taste level is like up here, and everybody's kind of like average. And then during this journey, he's also dealing with some personal things, like with his family. He comes from a broken home, and then his love interest, Apollonia, comes into the picture, and then there's a whole new perspective of relationships, not just with like your bandmates or your parents, but with a lover or a significant other. And then we see lots of stuff in this movie. We see drama, we see, it's lots. We see toxic relationships, we see, abuse in the home, and out of all of those things, we get a pretty banging soundtrack. Didn't it win an Oscar?
Yeah, yes it did. Yes it did.
Yeah.
Yes it did. So to kind of tail end that, so of course, in a nutshell, this movie is dealing a lot with domestic abuse, generational curses, misogyny, mental illness, alcoholism, objectifying women, just a whole bunch for a movie like this. And I will say two things before we continue. A movie like this would not be made today in 2024 for the obvious reasons if you've seen the movie. Another thing I like to point out is there's thousands and thousands of reviews of this particular movie, either online or on podcasts. And one of the things that always comes up is the acting. The acting is not that good in this movie. Well, maybe it's because that nobody in this movie has ever acted before. So what did you expect?
Do you mind if I chime in?
Sure.
Me personally, because I've seen the movie a few times, I think Wendy and Lisa did a pretty good job for being, a couple of musicians. Because when you get the actual band in a movie, you can tell that they're just musicians. But Wendy and Lisa kind of held their own.
Yeah.
Especially with the parts where they were being torn down. I think they held their own.
Yeah. And another standout performance, of course, is Morris Day. Because think about it, this movie is dark. This is a dark movie.
Yeah.
And without Morris Day's presence and his natural ability to be in front of the camera and be funny, this would be just a sad, depressing, dark movie with great music in it. So I feel like with Morris Day's presence in this movie, you're going to get the balance. You're going to get like the light side, the humor, and then you're going to get, of course, the dark side, which, again, this movie, of course, it was shocking back in '84, and even with today's standards, with everything that has changed, and with everyone being so, what I like to say, sensitive, this movie, it would not be made in 2024. It just would not be. But I think Prince took a bold step. He took a different direction in allowing some of these things to be in this particular movie. Because if you think about all the movies that rock and roll stars starred in back before Purple Rain come out, namely in the 70s, all those movies were like abstract. It was almost like you was watching a acid trip on screen. The script was all over the place, and you got all these images.
Lots of indie art house.
Yeah, you really couldn't follow it, but people went and saw it because their favorite rock star was in it. This particular one, it was a straightforward, pretty much storyline that had all this stuff in it, and it put a superstar like Prince in the middle of it, and he had to somewhat deal with all of these things that were going on. So it was nothing abstract about it. It was pretty much straightforward. And me personally, yeah, regardless of the fact that about 95% of the people in this movie never acted before, I think they did a good job with the script that they had and the direction that they had. Again, what do you expect? Okay, so let's get into it. I don't know how you do your reviews. You want to do it scene by scene? Or you want to point out certain scenes?
You don't watch my reviews to know how I do them?
I do, but this is Purple Rain.
Well, I'll start with some of the, what you touched on, especially with like the way that the women were portrayed in the movie.
Let's get into it.
Y'all know me. I am a hardcore feminist. So imagine my reaction when I saw this for the first time. I was maybe 16 years old when I saw it in full for the first time. And I told you this before on the channel, guys. Like, my dad is like a huge Prince fan. He's very learned, okay? And he's seen this probably an infinite amount of times. But there's this one, it's not funny. But when I think of it, it's like I can't help but laugh. So there's this one scene in the movie where Morris Day and, is it Jerome? Okay, I want to make sure I had it right. Morris Day and Jerome were like leaving rehearsal, and this woman comes up to them on the street and starts going off on Morris because, you know, she's like, who do you think I am? You didn't call me last night. And so he's like, Jerome, take care of that. So Jerome takes the woman and like hikes her over his shoulder and throws her in a garbage can. Now,
Go ahead, let's get into it.
because it's not funny, but it's like they put it in there as like this comic relief type of, you know, bit. And like my dad said, Morris Day, like all his parts are the comic relief parts because it is a very dark movie. And I don't know, I could see other things happening, but throwing somebody in the trash can.
So let me ask you this. Of course, throughout the history of cinema, you've seen women confront men about, oh, you didn't call me and da 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 da, you stood me up.
Mm-hmm.
I think, yeah, okay, you can look at it as, oh, he went too far about throwing her in the dumpster. My thing is, look, not saying it's the best approach, but it's a different approach as the way they filmed the scene, because you hadn't seen anything like that before.
No.
You hadn't seen nobody just dump somebody,
Literally.
throw somebody in the dumpster. But
Definition of getting dumped.
to kind of lighten it, I think what people miss is that she came up out that dumpster unscathed and unscarred. Because that could have went a different way with the power that Jerome threw her in the dumpster. She wasn't supposed to raise up like that. She wasn't. So it kind of lightened it some when she came up out of it. Wait a minute, not only came up out of the dumpster, but lifted it up with both hands.
Yeah.
And what does somebody like Jerome and Morris do? Let's go. Because anybody that comes out of the dumpster like that after being dumped in the dumpster, you better run.
And then
So that was funny.
And then had the nerve to say, such nastiness.
Such nastiness.
You put her in the dumpster,
Such
my
nastiness.
guy.
Hey man. You know.
Oh, I don't know, like watching that for the first time, I was like, there's no way that just actually happened. I was thinking that was like a blooper that they accidentally left in. No, that's part of the storyline.
Part of the storyline.
And then on the topic of like, you know, the misogyny and then the objectification of women, it you can't really escape it in this movie. It's like one of its pinpoints, and it's with most of the female characters that you see. It's with Apollonia 6, is with Apollonia just by herself, it's with her bandmates by themselves, and even a little bit with Wendy and Lisa too. And it's not so much like sexualization, but like, you know, misogyny, because you had these two badass rocker chicks writing all these great songs, but the kid, Prince's character, who is the leader of the band, lead singer, he's not even willing to listen to them. And it's just like, yeah, you know, you're the leader of the band, but like, it's a band. Like, there's supposed to be contributions here, especially if these two women, it doesn't matter if they're women or not, but like, they're writing like kick-ass music, and you're like, well, it's not mine, so we're not using it. And it's just like, that's like a mirroring of like being pushed down, whether it's the music industry, corporate industry. Like, every time like a woman has something to say, we're kind of like dismissed, or like, you know, we're not really acknowledged. So like, seeing that, especially during the time that it was made, it's just like it's a really extensive history of it. And then obviously Apollonia got the worst treatment out of like most women in the movie, and she stuck like, it made me mad because like, she stuck around, and I'm just like, I don't condone violence, but I would have like hit him back, which she did at one point, or like leave. Like, yeah, he's all mysterious and cool because he's a tortured artist and he has great hair and he has this bike, but to what extent are you gonna put up with his abuse? Because he looks like a god, or like, you know, he plays the guitar like a god. It's like, girl. Now, like, me saying this now and after seeing it a few times, I'm like, you could do so much better.
So, let me play devil's advocate.
Yeah.
Now, I can explain why Apollonia stuck around like she did.
Okay, explain it.
2 words. You ready, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls?
Oh, God.
Get out your paper and pens and your crayons and remember these 2 words.
I think I know what you're going to say.
Yeah, if you know it, say it.
No.
Go ahead.
You go ahead.
Hey, like I always say it all the time. You're smart. You figure it out. What 2 words are they?
If I get this right, I'm going to be so sick. Were you gonna say whip up?
Oh! Okay, disclaimer. Go ahead and explain something, y'all. When I tell you, this was not rehearsed. This was not rehearsed. But hey, our daughter's gonna know her daddy, so she got it right. So, and the words should be down here somewhere. So, down here somewhere. Whip appeal. Anyway, whip appeal, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, come on. From the first time that she laid eyes on Prince in the beginning of the film, I mean, you can just feel the moisture just.
I hate that word.
I mean, okay, wetness.
No. Can you say something else? Say.
Oh, well, and if we haven't done this yet, she's going to do it in post-production. There's going to be a disclaimer here because we're going to be very open and honest about the conversation about these 2 movies, count them, 2 movies that we're doing today. But hey, you know what I'm talking about. I mean, hey, we're all grown folks here. I mean, you saw the scene. You saw it. She was just looking just like, you know, I might need some wipes right now. So she was already in before the relationship even got off the ground. And he knew it.
You know what we say now?
He knew it.
You know what we say nowadays? I don't know if your
What was
generation came up with this, but we say digmatized.
Yeah, I think we used that back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think whip appeal was more acceptable because it didn't sound as nasty as stigmatized.
Yeah, or vulgar.
Yeah, but same thing.
Okay.
Same point.
Which?
And see, he knew it too because later on, he sees her and he knows, like, oh, I got her. So let me just stand behind her. No, I'm not gonna get up in her face and try to talk. I'm gonna stand behind her and make her uncomfortably comfortable.
He's just looming in the back like Nosferatu, like.
Hey, when you got it, you got it.
And to Dad's point, that doesn't make it okay that she was in that relationship, but you know, that sexual attraction is like a reason why most people stay in these type of relationships, and it's a very true thing. Now, speaking of abuse, so let's talk about the kid and his family. So the kid and his mom are being abused by the kid's father, and so obviously this is like, you know, an obvious observation. The kid does not have, he never had a healthy example of like what a relationship is supposed to be. So when he starts dating Apollonia, he's doing literally everything his dad did to him and his mom. Sins of the father, I like to call it. I applaud this movie while it's really controversial because it does give you a glimpse, you know, of what it's like for some people who came up in those types of households and what's going through their mind as well. And then you can also see that the kid has a lot of self-loathing because of where he comes from, and then he knows that he's not a great person, and then he takes it out on everybody around him, and you can just kind of see that self-loathing coming out, especially in the scene where he was in the basement after they took his dad away. I just think that's like you know, it's an obvious observation. You know what you grew up with and what you see and what you think is okay, then you're gonna go out and do it yourself, and then, you know, no one really tells you right from wrong until it's too late. Like, it ended up in him being part of a broken relationship.
Several times throughout this particular episode, you're gonna see me reverting back to 1984 and just the time frame that all this happened. So you got to realize, and we're going to circle back to that scene that we just talked about. So you have to realize, big deal, Prince coming out with a movie. So up until this time, outside of the videos, before Purple Rain came out, of course, you only got a glimpse of him in the music videos, and if you were fortunate enough to see him live in concert, you got another perspective of him. So the only thing that we knew going into this is that, okay, you're going to see a lot of music, which we knew because we were fans of Prince 4 years before. And there was going to be a chance that you was going to see some sex. We expected that because, again, we were fans of his 4 years before. You got the music and you got the sex all at the same time. So it's like, okay, so we went into the movie expecting at least those two things. Of course, the first 10, 15 minutes of the movie, music, 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 music. Fast editing, high energy, crowds are going crazy, Prince is killing it, the time is killing it, we in it. We're in it. It's like, okay, cool, yeah, Purple Rain, all right. Then around minute 13, minute 14, we see, can we say shit? Mm-hmm. We see Prince get the shit slapped out of him into another room. So needless to say, Prince got slapped. That was the reaction. That was the reaction in the movie there. I remember like it was yesterday, and we all sitting around like, okay. And we was like, man, what did we pay tickets to go see? Of course, we were expecting to see the music and the breasts and all that. But when we saw him get slapped into another room, we was like, okay, all right. So this is gonna be one of those kind of movies. Okay, cool. So that scene kind of set the tone. That was like the first indication that, hey, this is going to be a dark movie. And let me just go ahead and make this generalization now. So I was going to do it at the end, but I'm going to do it now. So, a lot of people, of course, even now to this day, would like to sit here and just pick apart this movie. Of course, everybody is unanimous in saying, hey, the music is great. The music is great. The musical sequences are high energetic and and the Morrissey and the time. And everybody is unanimous when they're talking about the music. But when it comes to the storyline, the plot of it, it's gotten, let's just say, for lack of better words, it's gotten mixed reviews because, I don't know, it was too much for people to handle as far as the content of the movie. Maybe it was too much for them. They like to bring up the misogyny thing a whole lot. Let me tell you something. There are classic movies that people put on high regard. They're on the best 100 films of all time. You got films like The Godfather, who is like, oh, this is like the ultimate in cinematic filmmaking. Godfather has excessive violence in it. And if you want to talk about misogyny, there were some women that was getting slapped around in The Godfather too. And just like the director said, in this world, because this is a fictional movie, people like to say, oh, this is Prince's life, and and this is a semi-autobiography. This is a fictional movie. Of course, Prince inserted some of his own personal stuff into the movie. But at the end of the day, this is a fictional movie. And in this fictional world, women were objects. They were objectified. In this world, hey, women did get slapped around. In this world, Prince ran the band. He controlled the band. And he wouldn't allow members of his group to submit songs. In this world, there was a lot of ego. In this world, in order to keep your job, you had to create a group, a girl group, that dressed in lingerie. Why? Because sex sells. It's all ties in.
That's another piece of commentary.
There you go. Go ahead.
The sex sells. Yeah, and it's so many more, like many more movies. But then like on top of like Purple Rain, I think some people don't like it is because they think it's glorifying all those bad things because it is so aesthetically pleasing. You have like this really pretty presentation and you have like some really dark stuff going on during those presentations. That's what I've heard people say.
And also in this world, people like the kid, they're like assholes.
Yeah.
But why? Why is he an asshole? Because maybe his dad was. Mm-hmm. Maybe his dad treated his mom just like the kid treated Apollonia. We talking court slaps. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, think about it. Now, I think a lot of this stuff has to come down to personal decision making. So basically, what I'm saying in that regard is Apollonia. She wanted to show Prince them titties.
That.
She did. She did because she was just so willing. She was so willing to have Prince help her with her career that she was going to show her titties.
Are you talking about the part where she jumped in the lake?
Yeah.
Well,
she wanted to do that. She wanted to show him them titties because she didn't fight it. She didn't argue about it.
Would you jump in?
All she said was, "What?"
Well, would you jump in the lake with all your clothes on?
With my clothes on, yeah.
You wouldn't strip and jump in the lake?
You talking about if I was in her position or if I was?
I mean, like.
No.
And then what if that was real leather? You know, she wanted to shrink that. Okay.
I wouldn't do it because, hey, I don't care how bad you want to show Prince your titties, you would not be jumping in minus 32-degree water just so he could help you with your career. And guess what happened when she came out of the water? He said, "Nope, I'm not going to help you." Got on his bike and tried to run off and leave her. And guess what? She hopped on back of that bike, happy as a hook in church. Well, yeah, you ain't got me to jump in the water, but hey, I'm on this motorcycle, I'm riding back home, and yeah, you gonna give me this deal. Okay. Mm-hmm. So how far are you willing to go
to get
what you want?
Yep. Especially in the music business. More commentary on that too.
Hey, maybe she's attracted to assholes.
Yeah.
Maybe that was a turn on for her. I'm just pointing out some things that other podcasts and other interview review shows have not pointed out or even thought to talk about. Now, understand that these are young people. They're like 19, 20-ish. You know, hey, and I'm all for when the mood hits you, go ahead and get it in. The barn, yeah, you probably only see like 2 seconds of it in the movie, but the barn, you know what I'm saying? I mean, did he think to ask, you know, are you allergic to hay or?
Right, how inconsiderate of him.
Yeah, do we need to stop by the store, get some Neosporin or something?
Do you have an allergy? Are you
allergic? No, get butt naked. We're gonna do it in this barn right now.
That's very Jason lyric of them.
And then
what?
And then this wasn't shown in the movie, but how did they get the animals out of the barn?
What are you talking about?
How did they get them out the barn?
Prince and Apollonia?
Yeah.
Maybe they let them free.
But how?
I don't know. Whose barn was
exactly. Wait a minute, was it Old Man Johnson's farm?
Might have been.
Old Man Johnson. You don't know. She don't know who it is. She act like she know who Old Man Johnson is. Do you? I'm putting her on the spot right now. I'm putting her on the spot to see if she knows her Prince stuff. And apparently she's having a brain freeze right now because she don't know who Old Man Johnson is.
I mean, I recognize. I don't know the lore or remember the lore, but I recognize.
Okay, let me go ahead and bail you out now because people out here probably already know if they're true Prince fans. Think Raspberry Beret. So I took her on my bike and we went riding down by Old Man Johnson's farm. See how that
Yeah.
Two kind of link it like that. But yeah, back to the movie.
So if you had to pick, like, I know it probably changes periodically, but what's your favorite song from this soundtrack? Yeah, you have just one. If you had to pick, I know it's hard. Just one. You can do it.
I can't. How about you answer first?
Okay, I'll answer first. So right now, if I had to pick, it would be The Beautiful Ones. That's my favorite as of right now. Because mine changes from time to time too. Okay,
are you talking about the song itself or the song as it is in the movie?
The song itself.
Okay, so you're talking about soundtrack.
Soundtrack, yeah.
So we're talking about the soundtrack too? Or we just talking about the movie?
Can't really bring up this movie without talking about the soundtrack. So just pertaining to the soundtrack singularly, which one?
If I had to pick one.
You had to pick one.
It'd be When Doves Cry. When Doves Cry. Okay,
now in context of the movie.
Movie-wise, it would be I Would Die For You.
But yeah, so Dad, if you had to rate this movie, what would you rate it, like, on a scale from 1 to 10?
Well, for me, for different reasons and obvious reasons, for me it's going to be a 10 because, again, I had the opportunity to see this in '84. You have to factor in all the excitement behind it, the expectations, the unexpectations, the way the movie kind of took us on a journey, the way that it didn't tie up any loose ends. There was no, from what I saw, there was no resolutions. So we don't know.
You like how it was left to interpretation?
Yeah, and it was like, okay, the one thing that I think you can't take away from this is the fact that the kid had to go through some stuff in order to power through this self journey. I don't know if that sounds right, but you know what I'm talking about. We don't know what kind of relationship him and his dad has after the attempted suicide. We don't know if the mom decided to stay around. We really don't know. I guess between Prince and Apollonia, I don't know what kind of resolution that was, because I feel like after all that he put her through, she was still there in the end. So even though they presented it that way, like, okay, oh, they back cool again, they're back good.
Maybe it was like a I forgive you type of thing.
Yeah, but was that an I forgive you kiss?
I don't know. Or a goodbye kiss?
For me, it would be a 10. I guess I had realistic expectations of this film. I knew that the acting wasn't going to be Oscar worthy, but they got through it. They presented the story. It was a dark story. It was a troubling story. It was a controversial story, along with everything else they put in this movie. There hasn't been a movie after it that's like it. I don't think there's one that'll ever be one like that. I mean, of course, Prince became a huge star after this movie. And yeah, he gained probably like 10 billion fans after this movie came out, but for us real Prince heads, we was with him from the beginning. And so we had a different journey of seeing him from 1980, you know, when he was on a horse butt naked, to the next album where he was in the bed butt naked, to the next album we had on black bikini drawers and thigh-high boots. So we seen all of that.
Icon.
Before 1984, we seen all of that. So that's why I keep bringing up the expectations. There's a lot of stuff that we were listening to, we were expecting to hear and see in this movie. So again, to wrap my portion of it up, my review, hey man, people still going through domestic abuse. People are still going through mental health issues. People are still going through finding yourself, growing up. You gotta think these people are like 19, 20 years old. Yeah, by law you're grown, but are you really? you're still learning stuff. You still got to know how to interact with people, how to talk to people, include the people that are in your organization. Make everybody inclusive. And then there are little Easter eggs here. Can we talk about all the Easter eggs in Purple Rain?
I'm gonna have to watch it again to be completely sure.
I'm gonna throw one out there at you that I didn't pick up until years and years and years later. Lisa and Wendy.
Oh, you're talking about Computer Blue?
If you're actually watching and paying attention to that movie, you would know that Lisa and Wendy are together.
Yeah. Yeah, I knew about that one.
See, in '84, you know, that wasn't a thing back in '84. If it was kept private. It was kept quiet. It wasn't like all out in the front like it is today. Side note, before you get to your observation, your review, I would like to discuss the original script that didn't get filmed.
Tell you know more about it than I do, so tell them about it. The original script.
So the original script was way darker. The matter of fact, if they actually filmed the original script, it wouldn't have, the movie would not have gotten released, according to what I read. So, like, for one example, Prince's dad actually dies in the movie. He doesn't survive. There's also a scene, Lisa and Wendy had some scenes.
I felt like
that we know if they tried to film it back in '84, they wouldn't have.
But I felt like seeing if that made it in, and having the younger, especially the young LGBTQ or like, you know, queer viewers see that icon, I'm immediately like, you know.
Even back in '84?
Yeah. Yeah, Dad.
Well, so that tells us that Prince was ahead of his time.
Oh, we knew that though.
Ahead of his time.
He's always been ahead of his time. Because you know, he himself, he didn't dabble in like queer, you know, presentation, but he wasn't androgynous. He was just, you know, he was just sexually free-spirited, you know, and like he broke the bounds of gender, especially with his wardrobe and then his expression in music. So like, yeah, I feel like it probably would have been received well because it was Prince. Because he got away with the naked thing for the first 3 albums. I'm pretty sure he could have gotten away with some sapphic romance in the movie. So that's just my opinion now.
And then there was another scene, and then we'll move on. Remember the part where Morris is trying to get Apollonia into the car, and then Prince rides up and kicks him out the way and tells her to get on.
Mm-hmm.
Get on. So when they go under the bridge and she pulls out the flask to start to drink and he slaps it out of her hand. So in the original script, he slaps it out of her hand, throws it to the ground, rips off all the clothes and attempts to, but then Apollonia turns it back around on him. It's like,
really?
Yeah, it's like, is this all you got? After seeing that she turned it around on him, he kind of backs off, gets up, and that's when Apollonia runs off and throws an earring at him. Yeah, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if that would have been.
That was, and there's a lot of other stuff in that original script that they were just like, no, they're not gonna go for this. They're not gonna. That's just a little tidbit for all my hardcore Prince fans out there. There's footage out there, and we're waiting to see.
Well, if I had to rate it, I give it an 8 out of 10, -2 for the DV and the sexualization of women, because I never liked that. But overall,
it's fiction.
I mean, still,
it's fiction.
I know, but that doesn't make it okay.
It's not okay.
Yeah.
But it's fiction.
Yeah, and like I said before, like I appreciate the movie for like not holding back in the sense, because like it does happen in real life, even though this is a fictional, you know, plot and everything like that. But like also, it's like this. How do I describe this? It's like a dark opera You know, in my opinion, because you have, even though the kid, and not just him, but you know, mainly because he's the main character, you see him doing all of these things, but like you remember where he comes from and you kind of have like some sympathy for him, but then you also want to hold him accountable too. As for all the other, you know, characters, now even though they were really bad at acting, like most of the people in this movie, all of their characters felt real in the context of this world that was created for the movie. So that's what I think about it. So yeah, I give it an 8 out of 10 for Purple Rain. But I love Prince, but like, you know, my honest final rating, 8 out of 10. And Dad said 10 out of 10. So yeah.
And again, if I haven't said it enough, shout out and kudos, great performance by Morris Day. Great performance. Matter of fact, I wish he would have had more scenes.
He was a good comic relief character.
Because, again, first time seeing this, I was like, man, this movie is dark, man. It's depressing. And every time I thought about that, I was like, okay, where's Morris? Can he do something silly or stupid or funny so I can, you know. But, hey, Purple Rain, 1984, classic movie. It's not a punk movie. I'll say that. What I mean by that is it's not scared to address controversial subjects.
Yeah. Our second movie. I don't want to do this. Our second movie for this video is my dad picked this one, and it haunts me daily, especially when I talk to my dad and he brings it up. This is one of his favorite movies ever. We're gonna be talking about The Human Tornado. When did it come out? 1975. Dad, do you want to give the nerds a synopsis of what The Human Tornado is about? Quick little.
I'll try. It's a movie.
Duh.
It's got some people on screen talking and exchanging lines. It's got some car chases and see a lot of the microphone coming into the shots. You see a lot of unnecessary stuff, which I'll point out.
Do you mind if I jump in?
Hey, go ahead.
So, let me give some context on what he's saying. So The Human Tornado is a blaxploitation comedy action film starring our main character Dolomite, who is played by the legendary Rudy Ray Moore. Now, if you don't know what blaxploitation is, come on kids, it's time for school. I'm going to explain to you. So there was a period of time, mainly in the 70s, where these movies were coming out called blaxploitation movies. Now, these movies were mainly casted with black people, and usually the white man was the enemy in these movies, and if not, there weren't white people included at all. This was black people's way of, like, you know, breaking away from Hollywood and making their own stories where they're superheroes. They're the protagonists. They're the front line, because, you know, whatever we were in before, we were the help. We were the chauffeur. We were the slave. Like, you know, so blaxploitation was like a rising up in the industry, creating our own stories, and most of them were very low budget. And blaxploitation movies, like I said, they were made in the 70s, so it's a lot of, you know, super bad, Foxy Brown-esque type of movies, right, Dad? So yeah, those are two examples, by the way. Super Bad and Foxy Brown. That's an example of a blaxploitation film. Now, The Human Tornado is also a blaxploitation film. I also think it's a satire film, because my dad likes to say it's the fact that it was so bad, like it got good, you know, it was received well, that it was so bad. It was so bad that it made it good. And let me tell you something. I had to watch this 3 times out of my free time because my dad wanted me to relive it all. And he was right. It was pretty bad. I mean, like he said, you saw the boom mic coming in certain scenes, and then the main character, Dolomite, he rhymes. Every sentence that comes out of his mouth is a rhyme. And I don't know it was just a lot of goofy, you know. If you've seen like a 70s film or like a black exploitation film, you know what I'm talking about. But I'll insert some clips so y'all can see what I'm getting at.
Yeah, and as we progress, we're going to be inserting some clips just so you can get context of what we're trying to explain here.
So from what I remember, the plot is basically Dolomite, you know, he's a comedian, I guess, slash superhero-ish type of guy who rhymes. And from what I remember, long story short, he's having this party and then the police or the sheriff comes and somehow, some way, the sheriff finds out that Dolomite has been sleeping with his wife or something. So they catch him. They catch the wife, and then the sheriff is like, "Okay, deputy, get rid of her. Since she want to cheat, get rid of her." And so the deputy gets rid of her.
No, okay, pause right there.
Okay.
Because now she's breaking the scene down, but I think there's more to this than that needs to be explained. Now you got to realize that Dolomite and the sheriff's wife are in the bed. Okay. Now, you also got to remember, in addition to being a comedian and superhero, he's also a kung fu master, and he's also a pimp. Probably in some other titles too. But the sheriff's wife is paying Dolomite for his services. You know, so that should grip you right there. That's gripping. You know, that's drama. You know?
Oh, and for clarification, the sheriff and the sheriff's wife, they are both white, and that's important. White. So
when the sheriff barges in on them, you have to see the commitment that Rudy Ray Moore has when the sheriff barges in the door and he rolls over butt ass naked and delivered those lines. And when the wife tells the sheriff, "Oh, he made me do it," Rudy Ray Moore, which I think in this particular scene is an Oscar-worthy scene, he commits to the scene, still butt naked, looks at her and says, "Bitch, are you for real?"
He made me do it! Bitch, are you for real?
Drama. That was Rhythm Nation. When he's getting shot at, he rolls out of the bed, butt naked. Where did the gun come from? When he shoots back, where does the gun come from?
that's very cartoonish.
Yeah, where did it come from? Runs out of the room after killing one of the sheriff's guys, in an effort to make a dramatic escape. And hey, this is real life. You know, hey.
Sure, yeah.
This is real life. I mean, hey, if you're getting shot at, you're not going to have time to put your drawers on and your pants and the shirt. No, you're going to grab, well, he thought enough about himself to grab all of his clothes, run out the back door, and he dives over the balcony, which is probably like 30 feet up in there, rolls down the hill, butt naked. That's commitment. That in itself deserves at least an Emmy or something, even though it was a movie. But
An Emmy.
yeah, it's.
Oh my god, y'all! It's very cheesy. It's very corny.
It was supposed to be a serious action film, but once you see it, you're definitely going to be laughing, and you're going to be laughing at the movie, not with the movie. But then you're going to end up laughing with the movie because it's like, oh, I get it.
You could either be like Dad and think it's so funny, or you can be like me, and this is my face the whole time. Cause
No, you laughed a couple times because you was like, really?
Cause
They actually did this? Great, but it's great. It's one of those blaxploitation movies that is held in high regard, believe it or not. Despite the low budgetness of it, that's a word, low budgetness. The low budgetness of it, and all the mistakes, the bad acting, the horrible editing. Gotta point out the karate scenes.
No.
Gotta point those
No.
out.
I don't want to. No.
It takes a genius to sit here and be like, how can I make these fight scenes more exciting? Speed up the film. But let me tell you something. When you're jumping like 2 inches off the ground, speeding up the film doesn't help. And then you're jumping 2 feet in the air with some tight ass polyester checkerboard pants on and platform shoes. That's a reaction. That was a reaction when she first saw
No,
that.
it's the way that you're describing it right
It's
now.
a fact. It's a fact. But the audacity that they said, okay, let's speed up these fight scenes and make them seem more,
That's gonna be so cool to speed them up.
yeah.
You can
To
tell.
have them jump off the balcony, then jump back on the balcony, and have them jump off again.
I've only seen it 3 times. I will point this out. So, back to blaxploitation. Blaxploitation films always had a message, whether it was meant to be a comedy or a drama or whatever. Now, this one was a comedy and an action movie. But there's like little bits of like pieces of a theme or like, you know, messages that I got from it. And I only saw it 3 times. But we
You
got...
actually got a message out of that? I gotta hear this.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen it more than once, and I was able to get something out of it.
Break it down.
So, the first thing I want to get into is obviously racism. That's the obvious one, but going deeper into that, white woman tears. Now, if you don't know what white woman tears are, let me explain. This is when a white woman uses her white privilege to like make a scene and get whoever is around her in trouble in like, you know, kind of fake distress or, you know, fake being in like a bad situation in order to like, you know, get the attention off of her or get someone in trouble. That's someone usually being a person of color. Now, when the wife was caught in the bed, what did she say, Dad?
He made me do it.
Didn't you pay him and open your legs? You wanted that. You asked for it. But when you got caught by your white husband and his white buddies, oh, this, like, he made me do it. This jigaboo made me do it. No, ma'am. You paid for that service. White woman tears. And then
I would have paid and probably would have done it for free, but
not for the free. Didn't the sheriff, like, even though he told his deputy to shoot his wife, didn't he end up blaming Dolomite?
yep.
History, if you pay attention in history, you know that black people have been wrongly accused for pretty much anything on the face of the earth. This is just another example of that, shown in a really light-hearted and funny way. I can't believe that I put those 2 things together just now, but this movie is like, it's a comedy, and it's upbeat most of the time, or all the time. And so, him being on the run because he was falsely accused of murdering a white woman, this black man, he's running from the sheriff now. He can't go back to where he used to be. And it's just like, the realism is creeping in, even though this was a really bad movie. The realism is still there. That's what I got from it.
Except for the scene where he shows his superpowers.
Dad, I don't want to talk about
You gotta talk about
I
that.
don't want to.
His sexual prowess is so amazing that it causes the ceiling to fall in, the bed to shake, the floor to move. Oh, and also to get information out of women who don't want to give it. That's powerful. It's powerful.
I just think for y'all to completely understand what we're getting at, please go watch it for yourself.
Yeah.
Not just this, but Purple Rain 2. Like, formulate your own opinion and then come back to this video so you can see what we're trying to explain to you here. Because we can only explain it. We can sit here for hours, and I feel like you need to watch it for yourself. And that's any movie that I do on this channel, like to review. watch it for yourself and formulate your own opinion and own understanding of what you just saw. I would say these two movies are on my dad's like favorites list for sure, because he's got, I've told my viewers this, I don't know if you remember, but that's how we bond, is through music and movies. And my dad's been on this earth longer than me, obviously, so he's seen a lot more movies than me, obviously. And like, this is what we do, like, when we're together. Like, we sit down and we dissect music and movies just like we did in front of this camera for y'all today. And this is just kind of like a percentage of like what we talk about, because we could sit in a room and talk for hours about any movie or any song or whatever.
I think you would probably get a better understanding and a better explanation if you were to watch Dolomite Is My Name, which you haven't seen,
No.
but guess what? We're going to watch it.
No, Dad, please.
Okay, let me break it down.
Alright.
So,
I know what it is.
Dolomite Is My Name is a Netflix movie starring Eddie Murphy. And it shows everything that he had to go through to make this movie. Well, actually, it was everything that he had to do to make the first Dolomite movie, which was called Dolomite. Human Tornado is the sequel to Dolomite. But somehow in this movie with Eddie Murphy, they kind of merged the two. I don't know whose decision was to do that, because there were some scenes that were filming that were definitely Human Tornado, but it was actually filming the first Dolomite movie. I'm not saying you're gonna love it more, but you're gonna get a different perspective as to why and how he got this movie made. But hey, this was not a deal breaker, but I made her do these two movies. She said she wanted to do a video today. I said, okay, cool. Well, since you insist on me doing a video with you, then I get to choose the topic.
This was the catch.
This was the catch. You had to do Purple Rain, and you had to do the Human Tornado.
Yeah. Cause yeah, I've been trying to do a video with both of my parents for a long time, and they're very picky about when they want to be on camera. So this is Dad's debut.
There's this streaming service called Tubi.
No, Dad. First of all, it's pronounced Tubi.
Well, it should be called Tubi, because the movies that are on Tubi, it makes the Human Tornado look like The Godfather. Even to the point to where, this is exclusive news, even to the point to where I'm going to make a movie and put it on Tubi. So movies like The Human Tornado are inspiration for a lot of independent filmmakers who can't get their movie distributed or made or financed through a major studio. And when you have to make it independently, it causes you to be creative with your resources, if you have any.
Yeah.
And like I say, the backstory to the movie that we just reviewed is, well, kind of, sort of, it's called Dolomite Is My Name on Netflix, starring Eddie Murphy. Hell, it even inspired me to want to do a movie on Tubi. I even asked her to edit it, to help me edit it, direct it, produce it, because she's skilled in all that stuff. She just don't do YouTube videos. She's actually skilled in piecing together and making something that's regular or raw footage look like a masterpiece. So be on the lookout. We don't even have a working title for the project yet. I might let Tubi,
Tubi. It's pronounced Tubi.
Hey, tomato.
So that concludes our video for today. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like, and if you want to share your own thoughts and opinions on Purple Rain and the Human Tornado, if you've seen them, go ahead and let loose in the comments.
Prince fans, where you at?
Prince fans, come to the front.
Hardcore Prince fans, where you at?
Blaxploitation fans, come to the front.
Dolomite fans, where you at? Independent filmmakers, where you at?
Yeah, but leave a, what kind of emoji? If y'all made it to the end of this video, leave a popcorn emoji and subscribe if you want to. I'll see y'all on the next go round.